It's Friday. Why wait for weaponized news to begin? I'll try to tell you a story. I don't really know where to begin. It's about being Laura's annoying little brother. I was always Jimmy Crary, Laura's annoying little brother. One time I got under the skin of a Kennedy assassination researcher. And he said, "You have quite an ego to make it sound like you were tortured because you were on a par with Kennedy." If I'm going to aggrandize myself, that's a plenty good way to do it, I figure. But I wasn't really doing that. What I was trying to say was, see, I understand how people can see me as um, a self defeating person, as my father would say. And I understand how someone like me is greatly needed. Let's talk about JFK for 1 second. He was greatly needed. It's a shame that he picked Lyndon Johnson as his running mate. He needed somebody like him. It was irresponsible of him not to have somebody behind him to pick up the reins if something should happen. And of course, I worry about the continuity of my labors because the fact that I found so much that nobody else did is whoosh, whoosh. It's a little bit unnerving. I don't like being made vulnerable in the sense that I would be a community loss. No man is an island unto himself, someone once figured. Ah, it's about it. No, that wasn't what I was trying to say. What I was trying to say was put that so I just am a poet. I'm a deaf kid, you know. You could take the Israeli terrorists who tortured me and call them very vicious assassins. They attacked me as a child, and you have that right. My point, however, was that you know power is jealous of potential aspiring. Like they went through all the trouble of killing Kennedy, and they weren't going to do it so that Jimmy Carrey could be elected. No, they deafened me, brain damaged me, and said, "You stay right there and write your poetry, and we'll put together some weird production of you behind your back." The point is not that, the point is their thinking processes. Langer said, "I'm not sorry for anything I did, only that it had to be you." In other words, I filled the bill. I was from Bush's ship in the Navy. I was a little boy. I was pretty. So the Japanese girls didn't know whether to seduce me or laugh at me when I got my head bashed in by the Jews. And you have to read beyond Nazi Germany. It's disgusting. I'm not wishing it on somebody. Don't get the idea that I'm assigning this idea. But you really, to understand where the Israelis are coming from, you have to go to the gargoyle of Adolf Hitler with his table talks and his Mein Kampfery. Don't do it to yourself unless you really feel the need to understand, because it's garbage. But it's all about, if you don't fight, you deserve it. It's Pittsburgh, Tacoma stuff. The Vietnam War draft board stuff. If we drag you through glass, it's because you didn't fight back. The Hegseth doggerel. When we tell you to rape, you rape. And when I didn't, I refused. They castrated me. That's very typical of Toon. Conquest, identity. And I played the juvenile, the jealous cop stuff. Oh, she was as pretty as Edmondson. She was as pretty as Edmondson. My point is that I do understand that being paralyzed has limited my ability to work. So I'd like to run through a couple of things. Fayum was a counterfeiting done where D'Annunzio should be identified in addition to his appearance in Calabria and his inspiration that he provided to D.W. Griffith, a young Benito Mussolini, as part of the Italian Futurist movement. Read about Luigi Freddi. Ouspensky's New Age newspaper, where they talk about the super production that I identified from the archives of the movies they did it, was calling it a super story. Fourth dimensionalism. To use media as a stronghold for an invisible dictator. The fourth dimensional Superman of Ouspensky. And how I came to realize that Lenin pulled a Houdini. And it was encrypted in language, linguistics, like Lazarus, Bly, Sanders, Blaze from the Sanders, Unruh, the Secret Service agent who was with Reagan when he raved to me and pretended to be shot, and John shot James in the brain. It's a neuroleptic criminoplex with language arts designed to it, like Mark Lane, how they moved Candy into a Mark Lane. Meow, meow. Sylvia Meager, it wasn't enough to feed a sparrow, one of the Warren Commission's praying. Where's the beef, Donna Rice? Meow, meow. It's a language plex. Lastly, through a hogshead of real fire. Once you see it for what it is, you can start to disentangle yourself from cooperating with the team involved. But that's not how it really is going to go. What they're going to do is put RFK on Biden's wall and then have the real RFK Jr. working for Toon. It's going to get all smushed because people don't mainstream the minority viewpoints that are on the margins, where sometimes the really valid research is languishing. So I appreciate the sentiment that you wish I hadn't gone this road and could pull myself together. And that it's sad for you to see me paralyzed by Parkinson's. But don't add to your sorrows by throwing in your lot with Seattle's tall tales about delusions and hallucinations. Talk to my sister, Mayor Peduto, and see for yourself the caliber of people who realize what really went on with those monsters who kidnapped and tortured me. It was a Manson-like ordeal. And you can't get anywhere with the mainstream. Kamala Harris is going to forbid. I'm in the condition I'm in because Barack Obama pussyballed me rather than admit there was evidence in the killers that Reagan put the hit on Kennedy. I'm not saying anything unusual. People talk about Lyndon Johnson and Max Wallace all the time in Kennedy research. Bush is talked about all the time. Nixon. But boy, you start seeing those drone hand gliders at your window when you say Reagan, not something else. How come they're doing that? How come Oliver Stone and R.K. Jr. are coming to kill poor old Matt Queerball? Because he said the name Reagan. Everybody's talking Lyndon Johnson and Bush. What'd I do? Sick hatters. If you haven't seen Sleuth, you don't know how slick they are. It's a Michael Caine movie. If you care about what happened, look at Fayum and the history. Look at my film project archives. Look at the history of the cinema group that he pulled off You Only Live Twice. Read Alan Dulles and Ian Fleming's interview with each other that the CIA declassified. I mean, there are things that you can do to put it together. Hitler named the Beatles. That's what the Volkswagen was called, the Beatles.